providing financial straight talk for those working and enjoying life after work. This is America's Financial Headquarters.
Hey guys, I got a question. In the next year or two, I would expect to retire, and I'll probably need about $2,000 a month from my investments. They're currently right around $623,000. Any suggestions on how I might approach this?
Frank, thanks for your call, first of all. And Mike, it's a great question. I think it's one that the HQ Network advisors face every day when they're sitting down planning with clients. And I think one of the things that we really wanted to address was how to approach this income planning solution and really take into consideration the sequence of return risks.
Yeah, the Financial HQ Network advisors can dig deep on an example like that, and when they're sitting down with you one-on-one, they actually have access to a proprietary financial planning software system known as the Asset Cycle Portfolio System. And to kind of share this long distance, if you will, I would start with, let's just take a pie, and let's put 4 slices in it, just to keep that mental picture very easy to deal with. Frank said he was looking to get $24,000 a year, which was $2,000 a month, off of $623,000. I'm just going to round those numbers, make that math a little easier. So let's take him from $623,000 up to $650,000, and then for good measure, instead of $24,000 a year, let's get him $25,000 a year.
Keeps the number, yep.
Even that out. Mm-hmm. If you were to take out of that $650,000 and look at what do I need to do for my first 5 years of income, if I want to get $25,000 a year for 5 years, I could take $125,000 at literally 0% interest, and then just divide that out over 5 years, and there's my first 5 years worth of income at $25,000 per year. So I'm going to allocate that first $125,000, and I can put it in something that has no risk. I could put it in a money market. I could put it in immediate annuity. I could put it in something that has no market risk, and now I don't have my sequence risk on that particular chunk of money either. Mm-hmm. And I'm pulling out $25,000 a year over 5 years that lead up that $125,000.
Now, Mike, you're touching on a really important point, because a lot of folks have a hard time dipping into principal in their mind, because we've been very conditioned to only peel interest off or peel growth off. And we're trying to, we're suggesting and introducing the Asset Cycle Portfolio System, which is a little bit different philosophically than that.
Yeah, I think most people think of it as one big pie that they're nibbling around the edges on.
Right.
And instead, what I'm saying is let's slice the pie into four. Let's take and slice it into 4 pieces, and now we'll deal with each piece independently. Mm-hmm. So that first piece is going to get me my first 5 years of income. The second piece, I'm going to put the exact same $125,000 into it, but now I'm going to let it grow for 5 years.
Because you've bought yourself that time with the income.
Exactly. The first 5 years are already covered, so this thing can let itself grow for the next 5 years. And at 3% interest, not all that much in today's interest rate environment, which is pretty low anyway, but at 3% interest, that $125,000 will grow to $145,000. Mm-hmm. And now I'm going to take my second 5 years of income out of that. So when the first slice of the pie has liquidated itself, the second slice of the pie is ready to go. And I can trigger out 5 years of income at that point at $29,000 per year. I actually got a pay raise 5 years into this deal. Mm-hmm. Is that making sense?
Yep, absolutely. So now we've got 10 years of income covered. Basically what you've said, we had the first pie that we ate through, 5 years worth of income. We didn't have to assume any sort of interest rate. I think even in today's environment, we can get 0, right?
Right. It's hard to go below that.
Right. Now then the second leg, the second piece of the pie is going to, provide another 5 years of income. What are we going to do with the other 2 pieces of the pie?
So we're going to take a third piece at $125,000 again. We're going to take a third piece, and we are going to let that now grow for 10 years. So remember, our first 5 years was covered by our first $125,000. Our second 5 years was covered by our second $125,000. Now our third 5 years is going to be covered by this third $125,000. The difference is it can now grow for 10 years.
So we afford ourselves maybe a little bit more risk on the time horizon.
Right. So let's say you can get 4% on that money on average over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to grow from $125,000 to $185,000.
Okay.
And then if I pull that money out for 5 years,
so after the 10
years into the future,
mm-hmm.
I can pull $37,000 per year. So I got another pay raise the next 5 years down the
To
line.
address the inflation concerns. Okay.
Right. So while that's going on, I've now just created 15 years worth of retirement income.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, the dollar amount that remains, remember we started with $650,000.
Sure.
We pulled out $125 in 3 pieces. That leaves $275,000 remaining.
Okay.
That I'm going to be able to invest over the long term, in this case, over at least 15 years. So let's say I can get on average 7% on that $275,000. That's going to actually grow all the way up to $758,000 at 7%. Or even if I did it at 6%, it's going to grow up to over $659,000 after 15 years.
It's about what we originally started with.
Which we started with $650,000.
You're listening to America's Financial Headquarters. This is Mark Mersman, enjoying conversation here with Mike Walters, and we're rolling out for you, for Frank in Grand Rapids, a kind of a general idea from a planning standpoint of how to approach retirement income. And the thing that I love, Mike, about what we've just done and how we've kind of shared this is that we've never even discussed investment solutions, products. Where are you going to go? Are you going to go into a bank account? Are you going to go into a CD? Are you going to go into a bond, a mutual fund? That's the beauty of this plan. It's not focused on a product. It's focused on assigning a job description for a particular set of assets.
Right. As we always say, plan first, invest second. And that's why I think it's so crucial for people to take advantage of discussing these types of things with a local financial HQ network advisor. And they can reach them and ask questions by simply dialing 888-888-9572. It's a 24-hour, 7-day hotline. So you can just leave that voicemail message, and we'll pick that ball up and run with it for you.
Now, another crucial part of the asset cycle portfolio system, Mike, is one that we've discussed in past, the importance of, if you look at this as a pie, the importance of protecting against some of the what ifs. And I think visually, and this is part of why we kind of joke about how you can physically explain this to your spouse, your neighbor, your friends on a napkin, to help them visualize what your plan's going to look like. There's another piece that you put over the pie to protect it. And, we basically kind of put and sketch out an umbrella.
Right.
And, that's where you might look to purchase long-term care insurance. You might look to purchase an asset-based long-term care option, which is certainly an option. And ultimately, it's designed to be there to protect that portfolio, from an invasion from a healthcare issue or, a long-term care facility, something to that effect.
Yeah, a layer of protection or insulation around it. But I think what people really need to be able to wrap their mind around from a mental picture standpoint is, if I slice and dice my pie apart, and we just gave a super simple example of 4 slices. Again, if you want to go through the full planning process, you might want to use more slices than that. But by simply doing that, I'm buying myself time. I'm buying myself those first 5 years where I don't have to worry about what rates are doing.
Sure.
I'm buying myself that second 5 years where I really don't have to worry there either, and I can project all the way out through those examples where when I'm now investing for the long term, I have 15 years of time on my side.
Sure.
Now, if I want to go invest in the market, if I want to figure out what's a wise way for me to invest for the future in equities, now suddenly I have time on my side that I can do that in a smart and intelligent way.